Another day and another hearing to distract the country from the dumpster fire of the Trump administration instead of talking about how Trump and Musk are destroying our economy, busting unions, gutting Social Security and Medicaid, stealing people's private information and trampling on civil liberties. Republicans are here to, surprise, surprise, scapegoat immigrants once again. The Republican playbook on immigration is dishonest and cruel. Republicans have lifted up some tragedies that involve immigrants committing a few crimes. This is the exception, not the rule. I live in an immigrant neighborhood in Chicago. I know what it's like. But the antidote to dishonesty is truth. And that's what I'm going to talk about.
News to inform you about at this hour. Congressman and recent mayoral candidate Jesus Chuy Garcia just announced his 28-year-old daughter Rosa has died. The family released a statement saying, in part, "We are completely heartbroken. Rosa joined our family as a young girl who had been in the foster care system. We did our best to provide a stable, loving, and welcoming home for her." Now, Garcia did not say exactly how his daughter passed away. "We did our best to provide a stable, loving, and welcoming home for her." Now, Garcia did not say exactly how his daughter passed away. The family has asked for privacy and prayers.
The truth here is that there's significant evidence that welcoming jurisdictions have lower crime rates, lower poverty rates, lower reliance on public assistance, and lower unemployment rates. This is from a stakeholder, someone who lives day in, day out. Do I want to live in a dangerous neighborhood? I have a wife, I have children, I have grandchildren. The truth is that welcoming policies increase trust between community and law enforcement. That's why forcing states and localities to be an instrument of ICE is opposed, not only by local law enforcement leaders, including Chicago, but also by many crime victims groups like the National Task Force to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. But despite all of this, Republicans are championing a bill that would cut billions of federal funding for essential programs like public safety, education, and transportation if states and localities do not sign up to enforce Stephen Miller and Tom Homan's reckless, racist, and illegal immigration agenda. Major Franklin, thank you for being here. Let me ask you, would cutting funding for these essential programs help or harm public safety in your opinion?
Cutting the funding for those programs would definitely harm. It's no doubt about it.
And in your experience, how do welcoming policies affect domestic violence survivors and other crime victims?
They get the services they need, especially since it is very difficult for them to come forward when they are victims or their family members are victims. So you've got to have that trust built between those communities and the police.
Thank you, sir. It's quite clear to me that Republicans are not interested in public safety or crime victims. Tragically, if Republicans cared about public safety, they'd talk about the obedience to the NRA and red states having the highest rates of gun deaths and homicides. If Republicans cared about public safety, they'd support investments in evidence-based public health approaches that are proven to reduce violence. If Republicans cared for public safety, they wouldn't be criminalizing immigrants, kidnapping people, or disappearing them to El Salvador. And if Republicans cared about public safety, they would never have supported Donald Trump, a man whose greed and cruel actions makes us all less safe. I'm proud to have helped shape Chicago's first welcoming measure in 1985 in the face of lies and cruelty. Mr. Chairman, before I yield back, I do request unanimous consent.
Without objection, the chair would remind members that the kind of personal attacks directed at the president are not permitted on the House floor, and they will not be permitted in this committee.
Let's get into this. This is coming from a man who supports the current mayor, Brandon Johnson, and lost the mayoral race twice in Chicago.
Well, today, mayoral candidate Brandon Johnson got another endorsement. Congressman Chuy Garcia says he shares Johnson's priorities for the city. Garcia, of course, one of the candidates knocked out of last month's election. He says Johnson's plans for public safety and affordable housing make him the best choice for mayor.
If you want investment, if you want to break away from the politics that we've seen prevail in Chicago for a long time, this is the way to do it.
The numbers you see are only from Texas. This does not include those who came by planes from other countries or Democratic states. From the thousands of illegals, Garcia's neighborhood took in around 220 versus most others placed in predominantly black neighborhoods, thanks to Brandon Johnson's Executive Order 2023-16.
Among the most closely watched, the Illinois 4th Congressional District. Incumbent Jesus Chuy Garcia taking on Chicago Alderman Ray Lopez. CBS 2's Chris Ty sat down with both to try to figure out what voters should be focusing on here in the home stretch.
Americans' approval ratings for the job being done by Congress these days is terrible.
The primary difference between Chuy Garcia and myself is that Chuy is an open border Democrat who has forgotten about everyone here that's been waiting for help.
Alderman Lopez is a confused Democrat who seeks to get as much publicity as possible.
This will give you an idea of Garcia's popularity. To sum it all up, Chicago's mayor has spent nearly $1 billion on illegals placed predominantly within black communities. Black Chicago citizens welcome legal immigrants. Again, legal immigrants. And this should not be confused with illegals placed in the black communities, where the tax dollars are not distributed equally. This is news to use for the next election.